Hello and welcome back to coverage here at GP Los Angeles. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with the Hall of Famer, the PT champ himself, Paul Rietzel, and we're ready for round 8 action. 2 players on the verge, well, of extinction here, Paul. 5-2 for Ben Weitz and Chun Hae-young, and that means that the loser, sorry, bud, no day 2 for you, but the winner does get to come back, still live for top 8 and ready to rumble. And we've got 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, or at least 2 much different parts of the pie here in Standard.
Absolutely. The Paradoxical Outcome deck, we mentioned it's a really a pure combo of a deck as we get in Standard these days. Tons of artifacts, inspiring statuary, and then a bunch of really cool blue spells designed to combo with it. Ideally, he's going to cast a bunch of spells and then pay 50 life to activate Aetherflux Reservoir. Ben Weitz is playing a red deck. But he says, no, I don't want to play Goblin Chain Whirler. I want to play a bunch of 1-drops, some burn spells, and then use the Flame of Keld and things like Insult to Injury to finish my opponent off. So he's just trying to get his opponent dead.
Rigging Runner, Daring Buccaneer, he's got all the tricks.
Yes.
By the way, so far it's been 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop in his first 2 turns, so nice.
Well, his curve, he curves all the way up to 1 copy of Kari Zeb. So he has the rest of his creatures all cost 1 mana.
So not only does he think Goblin Chain Whirler's too slow to make it into his deck, he apparently isn't worried about other people playing it either.
No.
How many of these creatures actually die to it, though?
So the Bomat Couriers and the Fanatical Firebrands, and then obviously if he's unable to trigger Rigging Runner. But in the interim, boom.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And this is a tremendous amount of pressure. He's got also Burn left in his hand. I mean, what a draw from Ben Weitz.
What in the world? Does he have a shock? Oh, my God, he does.
He's got 5 points of burn and a ton of stuff on the table.
He's going to use up 6 mana in the first 3 turns of the game. That is impressive.
Chun's saying this is turn 4, right? This is what's going on here.
What is that, Inspiring Statuary there for Chun?
And a lot of the best comeback turns start with Inspiring Statuary, that's for sure.
Well, you're going to have to show me some real action here. Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot, that is not what he wants to see here.
I mean, what can he even do?
Something?
Absolutely brutal start from Ben Weitz. And
boy, Bomat Courier looks absolutely stunning in this deck from Ben Weitz, by the way. Not only can you reload, you can actually cast all the spells that same turn.
Yeah, the way he has a sequence, he can go, end step, Wizard Lightning down to 8, untap, shock you down to 6. If he finds another burn spell, obviously he's going to cast that. Otherwise, he's going to be able to turn in the Bomat Courier for 4 more cards, sneak some of his creatures through, even potential blocks from Chun's Psymaster Thopterus. And you see, Chun put his head in his hands. I mean, he's trying to think, what can I even do to make meaningful interplay here? And this is a game where Chun was on the play. He won the die roll. He got to go first this game.
All right. Karn Make a Construct, I guess, is the name of the game here.
And he's dead.
Yep.
He is dead. Ben can just Wizard's Lightning this construct right into oblivion.
What is it, a 3/3?
It's a 3/3, so if Chun does play a 0 cast cost artifact, we're going to see Ben cast the Wizard's Lightning in response.
Wow, Chun had quite a few different cards at his disposal here. Or, token things. Well, it looks like he may just go upstairs. Wait, he sees that that's a 3/3, right?
Yeah, you don't want to shock that. Because
I think he's actually going upstairs.
Yeah, okay, upstairs just makes sense. Karn Scion of Urza, very, very powerful planeswalker for stays on the battlefield for a few turns. Not so powerful against all-in red deck.
Looks like he's not going to kill the blocker here, though. Perhaps for Farine just
it's
to
lethal
hold it up
damage. Yeah, it's
still 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so that's plenty no matter what.
Yep.
All right, easy game.
You only need it to Wizard's Lightning if the construct were to grow. But as a 3/3, he's dead. He can just show him the Wizard's Lightning.
I know.
Here,
it's always tough, right?
Yeah.
Because Ben has the win, but he just, you got to let your opponent make the play.
Yep.
And I think it's better to just let them do it and then show it. Occasionally you'll get somebody that gets a little feisty at you for saying, hey, you could have just showed me. But more often than that, you get the opposite response, which is like, well, okay, that's cool, you have it, but how about we go ahead and see who dies and wins.
My habit, because my preference is to know as quickly as possible. Savage beating.
Indeed.
Yeah. And now he shows it to him. It's not a bad habit to get in to just play the game in the correct order, because there are certainly plenty of formats we see both in Modern and, of course, in Legacy where there are things you can do for 0 mana. And so just going through the correct order of a turn is sometimes the right way to go.
Yeah, also I think that, I've had this happen quite a few times. This game 1 goes to Ben White's, where there is actually mana available.
Right.
Maybe it's just 1 mana, but, somebody will say, I got you, and show me this card. And I'll think in my head, and I'll go, now hold on a second. In my head, I may not tell, but I'm like, I can think of 2 cards that are in my deck or in this format, if it happens to be limited, that would make it so that didn't win you the game.
Sure.
So if I said, okay, you win because I happen to not have that card in my hand, I'm giving up a lot, right? Because the time when I do have it and I go, why don't we just go ahead and play it out, an astute player is going to go, oh, you must have this. Otherwise, you wouldn't make me kill you.
I know if you show Owen Turtenwald the lethal spell, he'll say, good for you, put it on the stack.
I do the same thing. I learned that lesson in a side draft once. Yep. In that side draft against a player who I will not name, they did that. They said, I've got you, I've got this, so you can scoop. There were 3 cards that I could have had in the draft format that would have prevented the win.
Okay.
And this was all predicated on my opponent making an all-out attack where they would lose the vast majority of their board but still power through for an extra 2 or 3 damage.
Okay.
So they would have to take a major risk on just to let that thing go. And I did not happen to have one of those cards, but even though I was still learning, I was like, okay, do it then.
Okay.
I call, right? Show me what you got. And my opponent promptly did not attack. Passed the turn. I got another draw step. Since there is no justice in this world, of course, I did not draw the 1 copy of one of the 3 cards that I actually did have in my list, and I lost the game anyway. But I learned that lesson very hard that day. I was like, wait a second. Most of the people that I know would have been like, okay, you got me. And I wasn't going to be one of those people.
Did their name rhyme with Lion Favored Barshal?
No.
No?
No, and I'm not giving you any more guesses either. I will tell you when we're off the air.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I'll make you guess. You know this person well.
I believe it.
I'm not the one, Paul. You're not getting me with that.
What about Dandy Jeweler?
No comment. I told you no more guesses.
Okay. So these players are going into the sideboard mode here. Ben has some interesting options. Obviously, we're going to see him bring in the 3 of braids. The cut ribbons is something I'm not sure about. 4 damage is a nice size of damage to have against Psymaster Thopterus.
Sure.
But sometimes that's too slow, right? If you're letting the Paradoxical Outcome deck play Psy and then maybe do things like play an Ornithopter or a Mox Amber, the incidental Thopters can often give them enough time that being able to kill the Psy at that point, it's too late. So I don't know if Ben is going to go to the cut ribbons or not. What I love, this is so grimy and dirty and disgusting. I'm upset about it, but I love it as well, is that Ben has 4 copies of cut ribbons in his sideboard, no way to flashback the ribbons in his deck list. So it's just 4 sorcery cuts, which is...
Oh, man!
This whole deck is grimy. I mean,
Ben White.
Daring Buccaneers and rigging runners and a main deck Insult to Energy, 19 lands. We've seen every deck has 25, 26, 27 lands. He just plays 19 mountains. He must have a dinner reservation to get to, or a basketball game or something like that.
No kidding. Yeah, I didn't see him on the list for the game after this... after day 1 here, but boy, he might be on it.
For Chun, he's going to love access to those Glint Nest Cranes in his sideboard. A 1/3 is just such a nice early body to gain him quite a bit of time, and obviously against the size of Ben's little creatures, Glint Nest Crane quite strong. At 1 Navigator's Compass, something we've seen a little bit of. 3 life, kind of attractive here as something cheap to buy him some time, and then We might see him also use Ether Meltdown. I don't know about that. There's no creature Ben has that even can approach 4 power. So I don't know if the Ether Meltdown is the kind of thing he'll go to, but we might.
It's overkill.
Yeah, I mean, 4 power is Ben's creatures aspire for 3 power.
Oh, man.
But Ben has
How many lands is Ben running? Is
19.
Is it 18? 19.
19 basic mountain. And 3 copies of the Flame of Keld plus 4 Bomat Couriers, so ways to churn through his deck that way.
God, that's great.
His deck looks like what you would make if your friend used all of your cards for red-black, and then you had to make another red deck out of what was left. Is that okay? Are you using the shocks? No. What about the lightning strikes? No. What about the fanatical firebrands? No, I'm not using those either. Okay, you can make a deck out of those things. And okay, I'll throw these Flame of Kelds in there. How about some rigging runners? I love it though. It's actually not a bad matchup for Chun's deck, because Chun's deck between the Psymaster Thopterists and then obviously the sideboard of Glint-Nest Cranes has plenty of ways to play early creatures that do an incredible job of blocking Ben's deck. Chun's draw that game was nothing inspiring statuary. That's not the kind of draw that he needs to beat Ben, and Ben happened to have the nuts, right? 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop, kill you.
Yep. Boy, they took forever to sideboard. That took a long. We had a very long conversation there, Paul.
Yeah, I invented multiple coverage members during the course of that sideboarding.
Dandy Jeweler?
Dandy Jeweler. We're in LA, so it's flashy. You got to go.
Yeah. All right. If Ben Whites has another one of those draws, even on the draw here where he just gets to slam 101 drops onto the table in the first 3 turns of the game, may be able to get away with one here and make his way into day 2. But Chun Hae-young says, it's not going to be that easy.
And Chun has the all-important turn 2 Glint-Nest Crane, which is just so strong
The
against
brick wall.
Yeah, it's so incredibly strong against Ben's deck.
Look at this. Shock this, he says. He bricked too, but he doesn't even care.
Well, he cares, but he's perfectly happy putting out a Stormcrow. Stormcrow Plus, excuse me. Yeah.
How dare you defile the name of Glint-Nest Crane.
Wow. And there it is, the largest creature in Ben's main deck.
His curved topper.
Yep, that is the most expensive card in his main deck
That
as well.
is absurd.
Yeah.
I love it. Get in the trenches. Get your hands dirty.
Looking for a monkey. But you kind of already have to like the way that this is going for Chun, right? He's at 19, and Bomat wasn't able to attack on turn 2.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Prophetic Prism here for Chun. This, of course, is the problem with this mono blue reservoir deck, is that it has a lot of air when it comes to getting attacked. We saw that in game 1 as well.
It takes some setup, you know.
Yeah.
You're really, it's turn 4 and 5 that you really are starting to turn on a lot of your deck. But once you do turn the corner, especially against a deck like a Flame of Keld red deck, you turn the corner the whole way.
Yeah, you could do some
wow.
broken stuff.
Speaking of broken stuff.
Is he doing it again, the Rigging Runner and the Daring Buccaneer after the attack combo? Oh, he's doing it all. Shock to finish off the Glint-Nest Crane, then play the runner.
Storm is 3.
No mana floating. Your move.
Yep.
Wow, that was a heck of a turn there for Ben.
Is that a falcon?
What
It's
do
a
you
goblin. It's a goblin, excuse me. A goblin pirate.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ornithopter. I guess he
Wow.
just needs it to soak up a damage.
This is going to be pretty gross.
Double Ornithopter. Karn? Okay, I mean, I guess that was a good turn.
It's a great turn. Yeah, I mean, this is a gigantic 5/5 construct.
All
which
right,
is, which
all
is
right.
absolutely huge.
Okay, I'm into this. I wasn't super stoked on the double Ornithopter, but I like the 5/5 a lot.
Yeah, and now Ben's in a kind of an uncomfortable situation where He has not really, successfully pressured Chun's life total at all. He cannot really afford to let Chun untap with Karn for any amount of time. But any attack that he has is going to force him to attack, kind of suicide into that construct. So
I think he's decided that is just the the lot in life that he's chosen
Oh,
when he
yeah.
sleeved up the 19 land deck, and he's just in there.
when you make your bed, you got to lay in it.
Absolutely. So both Beaumont Couriers are going to get blocked. The one with 2 cards under it's going to get blocked by the 5/5 construct. That still has him taking a significant amount here, though, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. Oof. Down to 11.
So he's just ignoring the Karn then. Interesting. Wow, that's surprising to me.
Oh, yeah, all of them attacked Chun. He gets to finish off the Ornithopter as well. Karn goes down to 2.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense now. So Chun can't use the minus ability on Karn this turn and keep it on the battlefield. So that's an uncomfortable situation for Chun, where if he wants to make another blocker, he loses his repetitive advantage generator.
Feels like he kind of needs to do that, though, doesn't it? Like +1 Karn here?
He may need to just, minus the Karn to make another blocker.
Yeah, +1 just seems sketchy. There's a Glint Nest Crane. Boy, Chun is doing some work over there. And those constructs are getting really big.
Mm-hmm. Currently 6/6, threatening to become a 7/7. Could we even see an attack this turn?
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yep. He's going to, air quotes, ultimate Karn here. Make another construct. Now 7/7s.
By attacking with one of the constructs, you would potentially threaten a lethal attack next turn.
I kind of liked it. He still had the 7/7 back.
Mhm.
He has a Glint Nest Crane now as well. And one thing that this red deck does not do well is play defense. I mean, he
Right.
just has to start throwing creatures away every turn at some point.
And it would have made Ben's attacks very uncomfortable this turn. Chun, however, is kind of thinking, my draw steps look a lot better than Ben's
Yep.
over the course of this game. I put a lot better cards in my deck than he did. So I want this game to try to go a little bit longer.
That is fair. And Ben White's came to play one way.
Oh, yeah.
He's got right-click attack all, just perma-hit here. He's got a keyboard macro set up for it.
He F6'd, and then he
Committed
really
to
quickly
it.
hit F5 to make sure that he could still sacrifice his Beaumont Courier.
That's right.
Be attractive to maybe double block the Karizev here with Ornithopter and one of the constructs to get that off the board permanently.
And then he could put the Glint Nest Crane on the Beaumont Courier, perhaps.
Possibly, although Ben
Is
may
Ben
be
out of cards?
incentivized to sacrifice that anyway. He looks like he wants to just try to take less damage overall. Here come. So this double block wouldn't make any sense, right? It'd be better to double block with the Ornithopter and then put the Crane.
Right, where it can actually eat something.
Yep. But he may just want to minimize damage by putting the Crane in front of, say, the Buccaneer and the
Ragavan, something.
tough situation. Obviously Ben hell-bent at the moment, but, we know that Beaumont Courier is going to find him 2 new cards, which could be pretty scary stuff. Like, for example, the Flame of Keld is really what Ben wants to see off of this Beaumont Courier. Oh, wow. Okay, so Chun didn't end up putting a creature in front of Beaumont Courier that forced... Oh, my gosh.
Did he draw paradoxical outcome?
He did, and that is very likely to lead to a lethal attack this turn because he has that Inspiring Statuary hidden there in the stack of Prophetic Prisms.
He's going to play Sorcerer's Spyglass, which is going to force the issue on the Beaumont Courier. Otherwise, he can just name it, and then Ben can't activate it. So he does that.
Ben really needs to have an Abrade here.
He's got Mountain, not Abrade. So he needs to. So what does Chun need to do to get these constructs big enough? He can pick up the cards and cast a bunch of them, draw a bunch of extras, and if he finds another couple, or is it 3
Some
more?
zeros, yeah. I mean,
Well, Inspiring Statuary has done some serious work to help Chun, empty out his hand repeatedly.
Okay, I'll draw 6 cards. Or 5 cards. 4 cards, okay. He wants to find 0 and 1 casting cost artifacts. I see some of that action. Wow, and there's a Navigator's Compass that we talked about earlier.
Woo.
3 life sounds so good right now.
It really does. There it is.
Didn't Luis say that card was not playable? How wrong is he?
I don't listen to that guy. Back up to 10. He's got a Mox Amber there, too.
Yep, and currently threatening 11 power of attack.
So that's 6 right there, right?
There's 13, yep. Each of the constructs
Six
currently
artifacts.
6/6.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's a 13 power of attackers he has right now. He's not going to be able to make a lethal attack, but he is pulling way ahead on board here. Ben really needs access to something like Bifrost right now to get back into this game, which he does not have in his deck. 15.
No reservoir needed here for Chun. He's just got these 2 constructs. So hit you for 14,
Okay. 14 ball.
right? And
Sure.
then both of these, either of these are lethal next turn.
Yeah, and Ben with a mountain and a, as you mentioned, a mountain and a knot of braid in his hand does not appear close to being able to deal the final 10 damage.
I think that Chun also picked up an Ether Meltdown, perhaps?
Mhm, which he can cast because of Inspiring Statuary. So
Mhm.
shields completely up here for Chun,
Yeah.
feeling very safe at 10 life.
Yeah, definitely. Things looking really good for him to pick up game number 2. With nary a reservoir in sight, and it's land go from Ben White's. He knows this one's done.
Yeah, I think Ben has 2 lightning strikes, so 2 lightning strikes and a few chump blocks, but then what does he have that deals 4 damage in terms of burn? There is nothing. I guess, could he draw Insult to Injury and cast it and flash it back? Is that maybe a way, if he 2 lightning strikes and then Insult plus Injury is maybe the way to win? That's a thing maybe, right? That could be.
He is up to 6 mana, so he can do Insult and Injury.
I guess that's the way. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's the plan. Draw your Insult to Injury.
Plan the first. Block. Yeah, that's better.
This will be fun.
So if he draws Insult to Injury, what happens?
So he'll cast Insult, right?
Yeah.
And that will prevent all damage this turn and double all damage to the source he controls. And then he'll cast the Injury.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be 2 plus another 2, so that's 4. So combined with the 2 lightning strikes, which he has to fire off during his end step,
Okay.
that's exactly 10.
So we've got a real Craig Jones moment
It's a
here.
Craig Jones moment for sure.
You go upstairs.
Never mind.
What, did he gain some life or something?
No, Chun just drew Commit. The very last card he drew was Commit. So
Man, now I don't want him to draw that.
no, it would be really disappointing.
Don't do it, Ben. Don't lose one.
Mountain.
Don't use a one-time right here.
Mountain.
It was Mountain.
Okay, that's good.
All right. All right, we're going to get a game number 3. Ben White gets to feel that sweet, sweet feeling when you're on the play with an all one-drop stack.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, if you're Chun, you just won that game. You got a chance to make day 2 at the Grand Prix, and remember these days 6-2 makes day 2 Grand Prix. So everyone who makes day 2 is still in top 8 contention as opposed to before, which is an amazing change that I quite like. That
You like this change?
That everyone is alive going into day 2, as opposed to some people who are really the Walking Dead, and have been eliminated from top 8 contention.
Yeah,
so
the theory, right, was that they were live for cashing still, but even then they were usually quite an outside shot.
Yeah, you could go 5-1 and not make the money after being 6-3, and so anyway, Chun feeling great, back in contention this match, and now you think to yourself, oof, I'm going to be on the draw against a deck that really likes being on the play. Ben doesn't look too nervous to me.
No, he's been here before. It almost feels there's so many cards that Chun has that are just such bricks. You know, he plays Inspiring Statuary, and Ben is probably just like licking his chops over there. It's the card that made the most difference was definitely that Crane.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Glinton S. Crane is the real only way that he has to meaningfully interact before turn 3. He has 4 copies of Glintoness Crane, that 1 Ether Meltdown that we talked about, and Ornithopter.
I mean, I just love that. You know, you and I have been covering red-black with these ultra-powerful standard cards just hammering people all day. And now we're just like, does he mulligan to Glintoness Crane so he has some way to interact?
Yeah.
It's just a 1/3 flyer. Like, it's not even that great, and it's so good against Ben. You think Ben's cursing the existence of Glintoness Crane right now? If it wasn't for that, I'd already be in day 2.
Probably. And honestly, if you're Chun, you'd rather be playing against this version of red than against red-black. Red-black, much stronger against the mono-blue reservoir, having access to things like cut ribbons we talked about before.
Right.
Glorybringer is really strong against specifically Psymaster Thopterist. Unlicensed Disintegration can be absolutely brutal in this matchup. The black-red deck, as just a matter of course, as a systemic part of its deck, gets to play Abrades as a part of that complete control game, Abrades being really strong. So, you know, a lot of ways in which the red-black deck is kind of systemically and inherently stronger against mono blue reservoir, whereas Ben's deck is really about playing a bunch of creatures and hoping your draw kind of stumbles. Chun, again, I think that there are 2 types of games: the types where he has turn 2 Glintoness Crane and where he doesn't. Where he doesn't on the draw, it's very tough for him.
Okay, let's see what happens. Would you consider Ben White's set consistent? One color, a bunch of 1-drops?
Very consistent. Yeah, the only way that it really can defeat itself is by the how many lands he draws.
Okay.
He's so redundant. He's got so much high replacement value and high floor between all of his cards. He doesn't really care that much which 1-drops he draws. He just wants to make sure that he has 2 to 3 mountains in his opening hand,
okay,
and that he's able to either get something like a Bomat Courier or the Flame of Keld online before he floods out too badly and draws 5, 6, 7, 8 mountains. I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
I am too, and this one could go quickly, so not the time to go grab a sandwich if you want to see how this one ends. Ben White could win this one very quickly with the right draw, especially if Chun stumbles a little bit or doesn't have a Glintoness Crane.
Uh-oh.
Ben went immediately back to 6.
Immediately down to 6. So the red decks over the last couple of years haven't minded mulliganing that much. Why is that? Hazoret the Fervent being the major reason. In fact, it can sometimes get you down closer to Hazoret the Fervent. Mm-hmm. Ben's deck, 4 mana? Are you kidding me? He doesn't use 4 mana. You know, he doesn't even use 2 mana really for a lot of his things. So that's not really going to be something that he's interested in. It's really the Flame of Keld and Bomat Courier are his only ways to regain the lost card from mulliganing. So he's going to want to see 1 or both of copies of those cards in his hand here.
Okay, Chun has kept. He likes what he sees. Ben White really wants to see a nice 6 here. Going down to 5, I mean, you're giving up something with this super low curve as well, right, just in terms of absolute power.
It's not a deck that mulligans particularly well.
Right.
You really need every single last resource to finish your opponent off.
All right, he's kept it. And off we go. Bomat Courier, the perfect turn 1 play here for Ben White's.
I do think I see a Glintoness Crane in that, you know, peeking over on the left there for Chun, and he's got to be pretty happy about that.
Zalfron Void here for Chun is actually going to clear a card off the top of his library for him, so that thing did work. But again, another clean attack here for Ben White. He's already got 2 cards under the Courier. And especially on a mulligan, this is the kind of thing where if he can empty his hand and then reload with the Bomat Courier, that could be really tough to overcome for Chun. And 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop.
Yeah, and so Ben has a nice draw with the Bomat Courier. We talked about this being so importantly. Chun has the Glintoness Crane. Both players doing exactly kind of what they want to do. And a hit.
Prism. All right, here's a big turn. Oh, is there an Ornithopter hiding in there too?
It's never clear. Do you want to play the Ornithopter or save it for something like Psymaster Thopterist? I think Chun correctly identifies the ability to even save 1 point of damage right now is just too valuable. Nice.
So that was in a braid to clear away the best blocker on the other side, but just as importantly, get that Bomat Courier yet another card under it.
Trigger that Soul Scar Mage
That's
for an extra
right.
point of damage.
So three damage gets in, down to 15.
Oh, and Ben would have loved to have a land right there.
Oh,
You just,
yeah.
when you're taking up that Bomat Courier, just putting those counters underneath it, being able to hit these land drops, so valuable.
Just 2 cards left in hand for whites.
Yeah, and for
It's
Chun, no Sai, no other creatures that he can really put on the battlefield right now. So he's now got to think, how do I set up one of these kind of gross Aetherflux Reservoir paradoxical outcome turns as quickly as possible? He's got to be thinking, how many turns do I have left to be able to really kind of do one of my degenerate turns?
He's at 15 life. He has a bit of time to work with. Renegade map as well. But he still has some work to do. Ben White's is not out of gas here either. He's got Fanatical Firebrand and Shock in his hand.
Yep. And Chun's hand is bad. I mean, he's got the paradoxical outcome, but no Inspiring Statuary and no Sai. So,
yeah, no payoffs.
yeah.
And Ben drew a mountain for the turn, so he can kind of do it all.
Yeah, you can empty his hand and have the Bomat up to 4.
Do you just do it right away? He technically could keep going with it if he wants. There's no real blockers still.
I mean, he's not going to sacrifice it this turn, but
Okay, so he is going to wait to get even more cards.
but
out
I
of it.
do like the decision to shock that Ornithopter. You want to keep your opponent's artifact volume down so that things like Paradoxical Outcome, potentially Metallic Rebuke, things of that nature are less effective.
Right, it also gives him a trigger on the Soulscar Mage, plus it pumps up his Gitu Lava Runner now with 2 instants or sorceries in the graveyard. So that shock actually did a lot.
Yep.
Clear a blocker, take away an artifact, and pump 2 of my creatures. Down to 10. This is a big turn. This is clock running low here for Chun with just the Ornithopter on the battlefield.
And I just don't know, without access to Sai or Inspiring Statuary, how he gets himself out of a mess like this.
Yeah, it is hard to imagine without any of his powerful payoff cards. Ooh, this is interesting.
Okay.
So Zofran Void leaves a card on top. He's got a prism that he can use to draw it as well.
Does that mean the top card is potentially Sai?
That's what I'm thinking.
Something like this turn, Spyglass force you to use your Bomat Courier, Ether Meltdown plus a block, and then next turn, Sai, and then Prophetic Prism, make a token. I mean, maybe that's could be something.
He's going to play Sorcerer's Spyglass, forcing the issue on Ben White's once again with the Bomat Courier and making him sack it perhaps a turn or 2 earlier than he would have preferred. He gets to look at his hand, though, right? No?
Did they not reveal the hand? Or you missed the trigger, maybe?
I don't know. I was waiting for him to show it.
Interesting.
Yeah, at any rate.
They must have missed the trigger.
Not sure why that happened.
Well, it is a trigger. You have to remember, like everything else, right? It's when it
Yeah.
enters the battlefield, you look at someone's hand.
So he must have just played it and then just said go? Okay.
Possibly.
Well, it happened last time, too. The other time
Man.
he played it, so I don't know, a little awkward there.
Yep. I see a lot of non-land hands in non-land cards in Ben's hand, which does not bode well for Chun this turn.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that Ben casts all of them.
Yeah.
Right? He goes land, spell. That could happen.
Meltdown will be able to shrink either the Lava Runner or the Soulscar Mage, but still going to be looking like a pretty uncomfortable turn for Chun. And remember, he did keep that card on top from the Zalfran Void, so he thinks that whatever it is can potentially help him. That's a lot of burn, though. Wow.
Yeah, he's got a Wizard's Lightning. And I think he's also got a Goblin Chainwhirler there, too. Post-combat Chainwhirler would actually take down this Ornithopter. Unless Chun uses this on the Firebrand, which doesn't make a lot of sense to do, so yeah, you should put it on the Lava Runner. That thing's 2-powered all the time. And there's the post-combat Chainwhirler. And that is going to wipe away the last blocker that Chun had, also knock him down to 8 life, and leave Wizard's Lightning available here.
And I think that wipes away the remaining chances for Chun here, unfortunately. all of the ways in which that next turn went well for him involved him having that ornithopter in play. So, yeah, this is not going to be enough.
Yeah, he's going to make a nice big construct, but too late, right?
You see Ben knows he has it.
Yeah, and there's the Abrade, and you can sense the urgency change in him. He says, I'm not going to Karn. I'm going upstairs, and I'm doing the same thing with this Wizard's Lightning. I'm getting a prowess trigger plus a 3, plus another one, and that's going to do it. Ben Whites, with his almost all one-drops deck, advances to day 2 and dispatches Mono Blue Reservoir in the hands of Chun Hae Young. So, a little bit of a sigh of relief there for Ben as he gets the job done and finds himself at X&2. Look, you can still run it up if he comes in tomorrow and draws 3 lands and no lore for the rest of the game. He could probably, or for the rest of the match, he could probably do it.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see if Ben's friend, who got to play all the rares in their collection, also made day 2 for tomorrow. So maybe
playing the black-red deck.
Yes, the rares and the mythics. So obviously Ben wasn't allowed to use those, and he got it done with the commons and uncommons. So more power to him.
Impressive. He had to play so many of them. He only had room for 19 lands, but that's how it goes. All right, that is going to do it for day 1. We're all done in the feature match here. All the other rounds are finished. We're going to be live back at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, though, with more Standard from Los Angeles. We certainly hope you'll join us, and we want to thank you for joining us today either way, and we'll see you tomorrow.